Hey kittens, it's Megan, and today I want to talk about reading goals and what to do if things don't go as planned. It's March, so that means it's time for me to set up my monthly reading journal spreads. I wanted to keep things simple this month because last month turned out to be a disaster, reading-wise. I had planned to read 6 books on my TBR, but I had some mental health issues and I felt like I barely had any time to breathe, let alone get a lot of reading done. I spent a few hours annoyed with myself, but then I came to a realization. I don't owe it to anyone to stress over putting aside my hobby to take care of myself. Do I wish I had gotten to the books? Yes, that's a given. Am I still going to try and pick something up this month? Of course. But I'm not going to pre-pick those books. Most of the time, I'm what I like to call a mood reader. If I'm not in the mood for fantasy, I'm not going to read it. The same goes for science fiction or romance or anything really. By taking the obligation over which books I need to read this month out of the equation, I feel like I'll be less likely to set aside my TBR. The first pages I'm setting up is my monthly wrap-up spread for February. This is a place where I keep track of the dates I finished a novel, the title, author, genres, demographic, pages read, medium, and rating. Since there are only 5 books this month, it really didn't take me long to fill out this spread. For a rundown of all of the books I read this month, check out my reading wrap-up video that will be going live on Friday. Once I had this spread finished, I went back to the February stats page I created last month and filled in the details. Out of the 5 books I read, 4 of them were YA books. The most read genre of the month was fantasy, and my favorite book was What Big Teeth by Rose Zabo. I did review that on my channel last month, so you can find the link in the description below as well as in the card at the top of the screen. For the March quote page, I chose one that reflects my current mental headspace. Reading forces you to be quiet in a world that no longer makes place for that. John Green. The next spread I'm setting up is my monthly tracker for March. You just saw me fill in the same spread for February, but for a quick rundown, I list the total number of books read, the demographics, the average rating, the longest book, the shortest book, the most read genre, and my favorite book of the month. Finally, we have come to the spread dedicated to the new releases I would love to get my hands on this month. There were so many interesting books about to be released, so I narrowed it down to the top 10 lists that intrigued me the most. I will include the link to the Goodreads new releases list in the description below, so feel free to check that out. The first book I want to talk about is Follow Your Arrow by Jessica Verdi, and this comes out on March 2nd. The story is about a famous bisexual influencer who breaks up with a girlfriend and starts to fall for a guy who has no idea she's internet famous. She decides to keep it a secret from him and her fans, but like all secrets, it doesn't take long for the truth to be revealed and her entire life is thrown into chaos. Next, we have Sing Me Forgotten by Jessica S. Olson, and this one comes out on March 9th. After being cast into a well at birth for having the power to manipulate people with her voice, a young woman must hide away for fear of discovery from those who would kill her. When she meets a young man with a voice unlike any she's ever heard before, she starts to push her boundaries and look for answers about herself and her past. Next is The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst, and this one also comes out on March 9th. 25 years ago, 5 heroes banded together to stop an illegal necromancer's army, and only 4 of them survived. After exiling herself in grief, the leader of the group decides to do the unthinkable and break the law to bring her dead husband back to life. The next book is Ravage the Dark by Tara Sim, and this one also comes out on March 9th. This book is a sequel to a novel that I reviewed last year called Scavenge the Stars, which was a gender-bent twist on the Count of Monte Cristo. I really liked the first novel, and you can check out the link to my review in the description below or by clicking at the card at the top of the screen. Next we have The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. I probably said her last name wrong. This one comes out on March 16th, and it sounds like a fun twist on the fake dating trope. A software engineer trying to get her family off her back and a venture capitalist needing a wife to get his inheritance decide to join forces. Both think that they're going to be able to handle a fake relationship, and they start to go on fake dates to legitimize their plan. That's when the sparks start to fly. The next novel is The Last Secret You'll Ever Keep by Lori Faria Stolars. This one comes out on March 16th. This story is about a young woman who joins an anonymous survivors forum after escaping from her kidnapper, and she finds others like her who understand what she's going through. She starts to chat with another survivor with a story just like hers, and they've been receiving clues about what happened to them. When the other survivor goes missing, the young woman starts hunting for answers. Next we have Prom Theory by Anna Labar, and this one comes out on March 20th. A genius STEM student and her best friend are so different when it comes to their beliefs about love. She believes it's just chemistry, and he believes it's a mystery that can't be solved. Determined to prove her theory that love is nothing more than hormones, she decides to accept the challenge to get a popular guy at school to ask her to prom. The only problem is, he doesn't know she exists. And as the challenge progresses, things start to get weird between her and her best friend. Next, we have Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas, and this one comes out on March 23rd. This is a twisted retelling of Peter Pan, and the book takes place 5 years after Wendy's brothers went missing in the woods. And now other children in town are starting to disappear. While trying to run from her past, Wendy almost hits an unconscious boy lying in the middle of the road. Peter, someone Wendy had convinced herself didn't exist, has come to ask her for her help. In order to find the missing children and save them from sharing her brother's fate, Wendy's gonna have to go back into the woods and face what's still lurking there. The next book is The Ladies of the Secret Circus by Constance Sayers. This one comes out on March 23rd. When her fiancé goes missing on their wedding day, the search for answers leads the bride to her great-grandmother's journals. Inside, she finds stories about a young woman bound to a dark Parisian circus and a curse that's been claiming payment from the women in their family for generations. The last book on my list is You'll Thank Me for This by Nina Eigel. I hope I pronounced that right. And this one also comes out on March 23rd. This novel is based on a Dutch tradition called dropping, where parents will take their preteens and teenagers and leave them in the middle of the forest at night. The kids are supposed to work together to make it back to base, but there's always a chance that it could go wrong. Something sinister is lurking in the darkness, and when hours pass and the kids fail to show up at the meeting point, their parents start to realize that something has gone horribly wrong. The last thing I want to talk about here is adaptations that are going to be coming out this month. The first one is Moxie by Jennifer Matthew, and this came out in 2017. It's been turned into a film on Netflix of the same name, and it comes out on March 3rd. This novel is about a student who starts a feminist revolution with her classmates to combat the rampant sexism that rules her high school. This is produced by Amy Poehler, and I absolutely love her stuff, so I definitely want to check this out. The second adaptation is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, and this was published back in 2005. It's been turned into a film called Chaos Walking that's going to be in theaters on March 5th. This novel takes place in a world where women have died out and men have been infected with a noise germ that allows them to hear each other's thoughts. When a young man stumbles across a lone female in the woods, everything he knows is put into question, and he has no idea who he can trust. I'm really excited for this one because it stars Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really can't wait to get my hands on some of these books and go and see these adaptations. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and if you want to follow along on my reading journey, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.